Have you ever noticed how life has a strange way of breaking you down right before it's about to build you back up? How the darkest nights often arrive just before dawn, and the deepest falls happen right before the greatest rise. There's something Carl Jung discovered that most people never understand. The moments when you feel most lost, most broken, most defeated. These are not signs that you're failing. They are signals that something within you is preparing to be reborn. Jung called this process the death of the old self. And if you're watching this right now, if these words are finding you in a moment of exhaustion, confusion, or pain, then perhaps you're not at the end of your story. Perhaps you're standing at the threshold of your biggest comeback. In today's video, we will walk through the hidden signs that appear before every major transformation. 3 profound signals that your unconscious mind sends when it's preparing you for a breakthrough. Not by promising you easy answers, but by showing you what's truly happening beneath the surface of your struggle. Are you ready? Because what you're about to discover might be exactly what you needed to hear in this moment. Number 1. The collapse of everything you built when your old life falls apart. There are moments in life when everything you worked for seems to fall apart at once. The relationship you invested years in ends. The career you built suddenly feels meaningless. The identity you carefully constructed no longer fits who you're becoming. And in those moments you feel like you're failing, like you made wrong choices, like you're moving backward while everyone else moves forward. But Carl Jung saw something different in these moments. He called them the necessary destruction before rebirth. Jung believed that the psyche cannot evolve while holding on to structures that no longer serve the self, the deepest, truest part of who you are. When old structures collapse, it's not because you're weak. It's because your unconscious knows you've outgrown them. The job that once gave you purpose now feels like a cage because you've changed. The relationship that once felt safe now feels suffocating because you're becoming someone who needs different things. Jung wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And this collapse, this feeling of everything falling apart, is actually your psyche clearing space for something new to emerge. I once knew a man named David who spent 15 years building a successful law practice. From the outside, he had everything: money, respect, security. But inside, he felt hollow. Then one day, he had a panic attack in court. Within 6 months, he couldn't practice anymore. He thought his life was over. But in Jungian therapy, he discovered something profound. His panic attacks weren't a malfunction. They were his unconscious screaming that he'd been living someone else's dream. The collapse of his career wasn't the end. It was his psyche forcibly removing him from a life that was killing his soul. 2 years later, he was teaching music to children, something he'd abandoned at 18 to become a lawyer. He told me, "I thought I was dying. I didn't realize I was finally being born." This is the paradox Jung understood so deeply. Sometimes you must lose everything you think you are to discover who you truly are. The structures that collapse are not your foundation. They are the scaffolding that was needed for a time, but must be removed for the real building to be revealed. When your old life falls apart, your unconscious is not punishing you. It is liberating you. And if you're in that collapse right now, perhaps the question is not, "What did I do wrong?" but "What is trying to be born through this destruction?" Because every comeback begins with an ending. And sometimes, the greatest gift is when life takes away what you thought you needed, so you can finally receive what you actually need. Number 2, the dark night when you walk through darkness alone. And after the collapse comes something even harder. The darkness, the silence, the feeling that you're walking through a tunnel with no end in sight. You reach out to people, but no one really understands. You try to explain what you're going through, but the words feel inadequate. You look around and everyone else seems fine, moving forward, while you feel stuck in a pit of confusion and pain. Jung called this experience the dark night of the soul. This is the moment when the ego, your conscious identity, loses its grip on certainty. When all the maps you use to navigate life suddenly become useless. And here's what makes it so painful. You cannot skip this part. You cannot think your way out. You cannot positive think your way through. Because the dark night is not something wrong with you. It is something happening for you. In this darkness, the old self is dying and the new self has not yet been born. You are in the space between identities, between stories, between versions of yourself. And that space, Jung taught, is where transformation actually happens. Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." The dark night is not an obstacle to your comeback. It is the womb of your comeback. In that darkness, invisible work is happening. Old beliefs are dissolving. False identities are crumbling. There's a woman I once met who, after her divorce, spent 18 months in what she called the void. She couldn't date, couldn't work, couldn't even pretend to be okay anymore. Her friends told her to move on, but she stayed in the darkness because something inside her knew she couldn't rush it. Then one morning, without warning, something shifted. She woke up and felt clear, not happy, not fixed, but clear, like fog had lifted. She said, "I realized I wasn't the same person anymore. The woman who entered that darkness would have never made the choices I'm making now." The dark night had done its work. It had burned away who she thought she had to be so she could discover who she actually was. This is the paradox of the comeback. You cannot force it while clinging to who you were. You must let the darkness do its work. You must trust that even when you cannot see the way forward, something beneath the surface is preparing you for what's next. And if you're in that darkness right now, if you feel completely alone in your pain, perhaps the loneliness is not punishment. Perhaps it is protection, a sacred isolation where your soul can finally speak without the noise of the world drowning it out. Because sometimes the greatest companionship comes from learning to sit with yourself in the dark. And the moment you stop running from the darkness is the moment you begin to see the light it was hiding all along. Number 3, the moment of surrender, when you finally let go. And then comes the final sign, the one that signals your comeback is truly beginning, the moment when you stop fighting, when you stop trying to control the outcome, when you finally completely let go. This is not giving up. This is something far more powerful. Jung called it surrendering to the self, the moment when the ego stops trying to force life and allows the deeper wisdom of the unconscious to lead. For so long you've been trying to make it happen, trying to fix yourself, trying to figure it out, trying to force the breakthrough, but nothing worked. And now, exhausted and empty, you simply stop. You stop pretending you have the answers. Stop forcing yourself to be okay. Stop resisting what is. And in that moment of complete surrender, something shifts. Jung wrote, "We cannot change anything until we accept it. Acceptance is not defeat. It is the doorway to transformation. Because when you stop fighting reality, you finally create space for reality to change." So I knew a man named Robert who spent 3 years trying to save his failing business. He worked 18-hour days, sacrificed his health, his relationships, his peace. But nothing worked. One night, sitting alone in his empty office, he broke down. He said, "I surrender. I can't do this anymore." And in that moment, he felt a strange peace. Not happiness, but acceptance. The next morning, he closed the business. And within 2 months, an old colleague called with an opportunity he never would have been available for if he'd still been clinging to the dying business. He told me, "My comeback didn't start when I found success again. It started the night I stopped demanding that it look a certain way." This is the paradox of surrender. When you let go of control, you don't lose power. You access a different kind of power, the power of flow, of trust, of allowing life to guide you instead of forcing life to bend to your will. You cannot receive the new life while you're still clinging to the old one. You cannot step into your comeback while you're still trying to resurrect what died. You must let the caterpillar dissolve completely before the butterfly can emerge. If you're at that point right now, if you're exhausted from fighting, tired of trying to control, ready to just let go, then perhaps you're closer to your comeback than you realize. Perhaps the surrender is not the end. Perhaps it's the beginning, and now you see it. These 3 signs are not random struggles. They are the sacred stages of transformation that every soul goes through before it rises again. The collapse that clears space, the darkness that reveals truth, and the surrender that frees you. Your comeback is not about returning to who you were. It's about becoming who you've always been beneath the masks, the expectations, the fears. And here's the most beautiful truth. You are not waiting for your comeback. Your comeback has already begun. It began the moment life broke you open, the moment you started questioning everything, the moment you could no longer pretend, because transformation doesn't wait for you to be ready. It happens when you're willing to let the old self die, so the true self can finally live. If these words found you in your darkness, share this video with someone who's struggling. Subscribe to this channel to continue walking this path, the path of becoming real, of healing the unconscious, of finding strength through facing your deepest truths. Your comeback is not something you wait for. It's something you become, and it begins now.